Hey guys, like I said in a comment in my last video, this was going to be on something, other than Yandere Simulator or my redesigns. This is instead something else that I'm invested in. As I had mentioned in that said comment, that I do have an animatic planned as well as a song, if I'm ever to get an instrumental for it. And yeah, speaking of that video, I did notice that my outro got cut out for some reason. I'm not sure what happened to there. And also, if I sound a little weird, I'm kind of getting over a little cold right now. My nose is stuffed up. But anyways, on with the video. You probably read the title and are asking, Redtail, what in the world do Starlight Glimmer from My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, and Seladon from the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance have to do with each other? They are completely unrelated. To that, I'd say nothing, but I noticed the way they're regarded to be very hypocritical. What do I mean by this? I'll explain. In Friendship is Magic, Starlight Glimmer makes her debut as the mayor of a town where ponies do not have cutie marks. It's not that they're blank flanks, but they have equal signs in place of their marks. We learned that Starlight used a magical staff to remove the cutie marks from the ponies and store them in a vault. However, by the end, we see that Starlight's staff doesn't exist, and she faked having an equal sign in place of her cutie mark. She still has her magic, and the staff is a stick. With her town finding out her lies and regaining their talents, Starlight vows revenge. At the end of the season, Starlight has made leaps and bounds in her magic abilities, rewriting one of Star Swirl's spells and traveling back in time. She can also use her unicorn magic to levitate and is able to best in Alicorn. She manages to stop the rain boom, which affected all of the main six on multiple occasions. Twilight uses the time spell to try and fix the mistake Starlight is making after seeing many different futures, all bad. Except the Nightmare Moon future. That was a stable Equestria. Twilight eventually shows Starlight one of the possible outcomes, which is the worst one. A future where everything is destroyed. And Starlight doesn't change her mind when she sees the devastating consequences, saying, I only saw what you showed me, as if Twilight didn't show her the literal present. And then we see her tragic backstory that I'll be going over soon, which, spoiler alert, is, piss poor. And yet, she gets her redemption, and people actually like this character. She's nothing but rewarded by the characters and the fans, with most liking her. At the very least, Starlight has a sizable number of critics. So, let's talk Seladon. Seladon, like Starlight, is a villain who gets her redemption. Except, Seladon is done much better. Her turn from brat to evil to good is believable and natural. Her backstory and motivations make sense with her actions, and she's overall a better character. And yet, Seladon is the most overhated character I've ever seen, with so few defenders. It feels like a hypocrisy that Starlight is pretty well liked and Seladon is so hated when the superior character is obviously the Gelfling. Not convinced? Fine, I'm gonna go over every single way that Seladon bests Starlight. Number 1. Backstory and motivations. A backstory and motivations can make or break a character, especially an antagonist character. A character with a good story and well thought out motivations can be a marvelous villain that we can understand, like, and even empathize or sympathize with. Likewise, poor backstories and ridiculous motivations can kill the character. Seladon is an example of the former. Her backstory is that she, as the firstborn to Marin, was next in line for the throne. She was raised to be the next Olmoldra. This meant two big things. For starters, Seladon had the idea drilled into her brain from birth that the Skeksis are to be revered, feared, and obeyed. They can be very kind and generous, yet can also exterminate all Gelfling if they so desire. This is similar to religious cults. Religious cults teach to obey their holy text and their god or gods, to worship, and to be fearful of going against the teachings. Seladon is in a religious cult, except this isn't faith-based. This cult involves living among the gods. There is no way to deny the lords exist like in the real world. Anyone with any cult knowledge knows that they are hard to break from. Many of Seladon's critics or haters point out that she watched Skekvar kill her mother, and yet she still stayed loyal. But supporting the cult argument is that many real cults will engage in disfellowshipping, which results in the excommunicated person being treated by their family as if they were deceased. Of course no one actually dies, but the symbolism is there. Not to mention that Seladon watched one of her gods literally kill someone for defying them. Obviously, she isn't going to go against them now after seeing what they're capable of. The other result of Seladon's upbringing is that her mother was never shy to say she loved Brea and Tavra, but treated Seladon as a princess first, a daughter second, and describing herself to Seladon as Theomadra first, a mother second. Despite her saying this, Seladon saw Marin being a mother first to her sisters, while Seladon was always vying for her mother's love. She was obedient and rule-following and couldn't understand why her mother seemed to favor Brea, her troublemaking little sister. It created resentment and made it easier for Seladon to both stay loyal to the Skeksis and believe she did the right thing, and to blame Brea for corrupting her mother, since Brea is the favorite child. It had all boiled over in the dream space when she finally snapped at her mother, saying, "You never see me!" On top of that, Seladon was actively prevented from seeing the truth. When her mother was willing to see Lore, Seladon decided that she would come too. She was curious too, and if her more dutiful mother was willing, perhaps it wasn't so bad. Instead, she was made to inspect the Landstrider herds. When Deet came and they all met at the dream space, Algra sent her back and didn't allow her to see the truth herself. Between having a good story and a bad story, Starlight is the latter. All she had was the loss of one single friend, and that was because he had to move for an opportunity he couldn't just throw away after earning his cutie mark to help her. Sunburst reasonably assumed, Starlight could make new friends, but apparently she was so hurt by it that she decided never to get over it. So hurt that when she saw the devastating consequences, she was willing to let it happen. When Seladon saw the consequences, she changed sides. Starlight didn't. Starlight thought that the little bit of hurt she felt was enough to justify ending the world. Number 2, having a discernible personality. Ask me to describe Seladon? Easy. She's loyal, stubborn, arrogant, responsible, serious, and dutiful. Also, guys, sorry I cannot talk today. She's very strong considering everything she's gone through, and she deeply cares for her sisters. She can be envious, and prior to episode 10, she struggled with blame and acceptance. As for Starlight, she likes kites or something. She gets angry very easily, overreacts, and that's really all I can say. She has no substance. She's just written in any way needed to make her replace one of the main 6. Need someone to be brutally honest? Instead of Applejack, the element of honesty, or Rainbow Dash, who has been brutally honest before, we can have Starlight do it. How about an episode about caving under stress? Definitely not Twilight. She never freaks out. You get the point. Her personality changes dependent on how the writers want her to be in a certain situation. Number 3, believable changes. None of Seladon's actions seem out of character when she makes it clear she's a Skeksis loyalist. We can believe this is the same Gelfling. I read this really good article, I'll link it, about how Seladon was Daenerys done right. I haven't seen Game of Thrones, but it basically talked about how if you know a character, you can give them a believable turn from good to evil or vice versa. The same is true for Seladon's turn to good. It doesn't feel forced or out of place, it just clicks. Starlight doesn't have a believable turn to good or to evil. First off, you can't convince me that this filly, who looks like a cinnamon roll, is so spiteful. Secondly, Starlight's turn feels forced and out of place. Like, that's not the choice Starlight would make, and Starlight seems to drop everything about her instantaneously. Seladon overcomes a flaw, her problem with blame, but doesn't drop any of her other traits. She's still as loyal as ever, but now to the right cause. She has other flaws to overcome that we could have seen in Season 2, such as her arrogance and stubborn personality. Plus, it would help if she could overcome her previous bias against the other clans that most Vaprons have. It would have been a gradual change, unlike Starlight. Number 4. Meaningful design changes. This one is a smaller one, but why not include it? Another article by IndieWire that I'll link talked about how Seladon's clothing and makeup reflected her and her stance. Not evil, just an antagonistic sister. Light makeup and her Vapron princess dress. Proving her loyalty to the Skeksis, we've got that iconic goth Skekso cosplay with that dark, scary makeup. But her makeup changes back to being lighter when she becomes good, representing a change near the end. Starlight just had a fairly useless hairdo. Did those bangs make her look too serious or something? Now for things Starlight doesn't have that Seladon does. First off, setup. Seladon is introduced as an antagonist but not a villain. We get to see her downfall. It's a huge advantage Seladon has in being a good villain and in understanding her redemption. That setup was crucial to her character. Second, Seladon has humanizing moments scattered throughout her whole arc, including mostly her pre-redemption arc. When she's evil, a word I will use lightly, and even before that time, we see scenes that remind us that she's not just a cardboard cutout of an evil older sister. This alien creature from another world and another time feels emotions like you and I do. Seladon's first humanizing moment was when she was ranting to Tavra. Seladon and Tavra were having a conversation where Seladon rants to her younger sister about how she did the right thing sending Brea to the Order of Lesser Service, and how Brea is spoiled and Mother's favorite. Tavra, however, disagrees and helps Seladon redirect her anger. Seladon is not mad at Brea, but it is in fact her mother. She is always pushed to her limits so that she will be ready when she is all Madra. However, with her anger correctly directed, Tavra can extinguish it by reminding her that she's strong and that Marin is hardest on her because she wants Seladon to be ready. It's with Tavra that Seladon can admit that she doesn't feel strong. And I know how that is. I have a sister, and oftentimes she's the only one I can admit things to. The only one I don't feel embarrassed telling about things. Seladon is embarrassed that she doesn't feel strong when she needs to be. The conversation shifts to being about how boring Seladon's many tedious meetings are before being interrupted. But having Seladon get a chance to express her feelings and have Tavra help her realize them is an extremely well-written moment, and is essential in allowing us to see that Seladon is not a stereotypical bratty sister, but a character. The second time is when Seladon has to remind her mother to think of her responsibilities. It's short, but it's both saddening for Seladon and shows us the doctrine she sticks to. Marin says, with Seladon in the room, that her daughters are all gone since Brea is at the Order of Lesser Service and Tavra is looking for Rian. Meanwhile, Seladon is trying to tell her about everyone who wants to see her. The Olmodra says she'll grant them an audience tomorrow, when Seladon reminds her that she needs to be the Olmodra Gelfling need, and to not let her missing her other two daughters get in the way of her duties. At the same time, we have to feel for Seladon when she's being taught her whole life to be treated as a princess first and a daughter second, but Tavra is a princess and a daughter simultaneously, while Brea is a daughter first and a princess second. Yeah, I noticed that I kind of got cut off there. Anyways, the third scene was when Seladon said goodbye to Marin. While it was quite upsetting for viewers to see Seladon choose to burn her mother, it was sort of heart-wrenching to hear her final words. I loved you with all I had. I'm sorry it wasn't enough. Seladon chose to make an example of her mother because she believed it would discourage rebellion, and it was highly likely not an easy decision to make. And before you fret, the Henson Company confirmed that, even though she was not buried, Marin returned to Thra. The fourth moment was during her time while evil. When she went to see the Skeksis to ask them to free the Stonewood Gelfling, despite showing disdain for treachery, Seladon did tell Olga that she will convince the Skeksis to have mercy on her before taking off. At the castle, Seladon asks for the Stonewood to be released, politely despite the comments she hears about her from the Skeksis. The Emperor responds with his famous line, no, before the Skeksis erupt with laughter. Seladon, remaining calm, says she understands and asks the other clans to be spared. Skekso again just says no nonchalantly, and the room erupts with laughter. Seladon compliments the Emperor and reasons that a few traitors could be in any clan, but punishment should be reserved for those that spread the filthy lie that they are draining Gelfling. Upon being told that they do drain Gelfling, Seladon briefly processes the shock and says she will honor the request made of her mother for 7 Gelfling from every clan, every shrine. The Emperor again delivers an, no, before the Skeksis openly mock Seladon, saying she could be a Skeksis and closing in. In one last attempt, Seladon begs for her sisters Breya and Tavra to be spared if no one else will. Not once does she mention herself, only her sisters. She still loves them, and if no other Gelfling will be scared, she wants them to be. She is then mocked and belittled more, and is even on the verge of tears. She's faced with the fact that she made a devastating decision, and it's hard to accept that. She begs for mercy one last time, in fear. She is mocked once more before the Skeksis encircle her and rip her dress to shreds, and order her to be drained. She is pulled by both her arm and her hair and locked away, reality being a smack in the face. You could technically say that Starlight's backstory could have both been a setup and a humanizing moment rolled into one, but it's pretty poor. Starlight's setup, if we are to call her backstory, that doesn't help her. It just shows that she's petty. And if that's supposed to show that she feels emotions like you and I do, then show me one person who starts a cult over losing a friend. The only redeeming factor that Starlight has is that she didn't commit a great atrocity, despite the fact that she wanted to and almost did. And Seladon would still have an advantage over Starlight then, because Seladon didn't ever want to do something to hurt the Gelfling on purpose. As for the final advantage Seladon has over Starlight is that she always had good intentions. Seladon wanted what was best for Gelfling in the long run. She was indoctrinated to believe that the Skeksis were good and the Gelfling would be doomed without them. Remember, tithes were required because all Gelfling benefit from Skeksis' rule, so all Gelfling must contribute. Seladon firmly believed that she was doing the right thing, that maintaining loyalty to the Skeksis and keeping Gelfling complicit was best. When she learned that the Skeksis did, in fact, drain Gelfling, she tried to make a deal. Let the Skeksis have a few lives, else they purge Gelfling completely. She tried to bargain to save as many Gelfling as she could, but she couldn't reason with them. When she escaped the castle, she chose to fight alongside the Gelfling and against the Skeksis because now rebellion was the safest option. Starlight's intention at first was to start a cult and grow it so that cutie marks couldn't cause a little bit of hurt, despite the negative effects of that and the fact no one was allowed to leave. After that was foiled, she wanted to go back in time to prevent Twilight from stopping her, no matter the cost. Starlight was eventually convinced to change because Twilight couldn't beat her, but it speaks volumes that Starlight was willing to destroy everything for one sad event. So, after everything I've pointed out, one can easily assume Seladon is a more liked and respected character than Starlight, right? Wrong. Seladon is the most overhated character I've ever seen in all of fiction. So many wish for her to die, which, lucky for them, all of the Gelfling die. But it's just whack that so many people despise her. And Starlight is more liked than hated. Despite the fact that she is terribly written and more evil, Seladon is the hated one. Starlight is everyone's new waifu, and Seladon is just getting a bashing from everyone when she's actually deserving of her second chance. When her heart was at least in the right place, when she was willing to change upon seeing the consequences of her actions. When she was one of the most well-rounded characters I've ever seen, and is, at least to me, the best character in Age of Resistance. Yes, I did just say that. Fight me. At the end of the day, you can have your own opinions on both of these characters, but your opinions say a lot about you. If you like Seladon and not Starlight, you're likely analytical of characters, appreciate a good and well-written character, and are very just. You are probably willing to forgive, but you need to see some sound reasoning as to why someone is deserving. If you love both characters, it's highly possible that you are forgiving and believe that it's never too late to do the right thing, that everyone deserves a second chance. You also probably give the benefit of the doubt and trust unless you have reason not to. If you dislike both of them, then it's likely you hold grudges and you don't trust easily. Forgiveness is hard to get from you, and you don't ever fully trust someone you do forgive. Forgive and forget is out of the question. And if you don't like Seladon but do like Starlight, then you can probably be hypocritical, and you allow for some double standards. You see things at face value, and the gradual change in Seladon from evil to good was too gradual to the point that you can't see her turn to good. Starlight is presented as sorry and good now, and that's easier to it's easier to understand a two-dimensional character than a three-dimensional one. Seladon was just too complicated to be understood and appreciated by you. That, or you decided Starlight was your waifu and Seladon isn't. She isn't as cute as Starlight, and you must defend Horse Waifu. These are, of course, just assumptions, and there's going to be many outliers to these opinions. Maybe you just have higher standards for Dark Crystal than MLP, and that's why you like Starlight more than Seladon. If you have your own takes on these two characters, leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Maybe there's just something to Starlight that I'm not seeing. Anyways, my next video is either going to be a redesign, on Ayano. I actually came up with some pretty cool concepts. Random cutoff, once again. I don't know why it does that, but I came up with some cool ideas. It might also be my animatic, or my song, or it might also be a video that I have planned in Minecraft. Once again, returning to, my roots. A building tutorial to make up for the one that I wasn't able to get the other parts out of because I lost the footage. Anyways, I'm out of content, and I'm out of stuff to say. No. Anyways, this video is just gonna, the drawing's just gonna go on from here, and if you want to see it, go ahead. But I'm pretty much not going to be talking for the rest of this. Goodbye, and I will see you guys in the next one. Back to say that I was listening through some of the recording, and I am noticing that my audio is very spotty. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'm not sure if that's my headset, if that's my mic on the headset, or the headphones doing that. I might switch back to just using my earbuds microphone instead, because, well, it might be better quality. But, sorry for any poor audio quality. I thought this headset would make things better, but it's not doing that. Yeah, well, if you guys want to see anything in the near future, tell me below, and I'll do it. I'll take it to heart. I don't have too many ideas, and once I run out, what am I gonna do? And don't be scared to comment. I don't get too many, and I always like to have them. Let me know your thoughts so that I can improve the channel. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button because it makes the video perform better and shows me that, you guys are watching, you guys enjoy. And if you want to see more, then go ahead and hit subscribe. Check out the channel, out the channel, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one, whichever that may be. And oh my god, I'm as bad as Tiger Clawed outros. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna let the drawing finish. There's only like about 3 minutes left. Or less than that. I'll try and find some music or something. See ya!